All right, good morning. What's going on, everyone? Welcome in to the pregame live chat. It is a Sunday morning. It's been a while since we've had one of these early pregame live chats. It's our first 8 a.m. pregame live chat of the season. It is Chiefs versus Raiders. It's been a while. It's the second divisional game of the season. It's week 7. It's Kansas City's first noon kickoff game of the 2025 season. Kind of weird, man. I still remember those days when the Chiefs had basically every single game was a noon kickoff game. I'm sure you remember that from many moons ago. But Chiefs have come a long way since then, and the offense, I feel like, has really come a long way as the season's gone on. When you look at the Chiefs averaging almost 32 points per game the last 3 games, pretty big. And having Xavier Worthy back, I think certainly has made a difference. Tyquan Thornton, I know statistically speaking, he's been very quiet, has not had a catch in the last 6 quarters. But I think his emergence this season has forced defenses to maybe focus on him a little more, and that's allowed other guys to open up. Travis Kelce involved more this year than he was last year. Travis Kelce's averaging 11.5 yards per catch. Last year, he was averaging 8.5 yards per catch. That was the fewest he's had in a single season of his career. So the Chiefs' offense certainly is moving in a more dynamic manner, better than last year. And I think Hollywood Brown, he certainly stepped up. The things that we expected from Hollywood Brown last year, unfortunately, we didn't see because of the injury, and so he missed a bunch of games. I think he only played 2 regular season games. Didn't play that Week 18 game because the Chiefs rested all their starters. But still, in the postseason, we didn't see that same Hollywood Brown. I think, was he 100% fully when he came back? I mean, to the ability that he can at least play, sure. But I guess just being not in football shape, maybe that played a factor. And then they had DeAndre Hopkins last year, who was learning the playbook as he went on. And now you have Rashee Rice back. Obviously, no DeAndre Hopkins, but boy, you got Rice now. And this is what's been advertised with this Chiefs team for more than a year. And we were concerned because of the Rice suspension. At one point, we were a little worried about what happened with Worthy's offseason situation. Turned out Worthy was not in the wrongdoing there, as specified by the DA down there in Texas. And then Hollywood Brown, the hope was he would stay healthy to get to this point. And now here we are. This day, October the 19th, is going to be remembered as the wide receiver trio day. And look, I hope this wide receiver trio sticks together, because when I say sticks together, I'm talking about for the remainder of the season, everyone stays healthy. The reality is, because I'm getting a lot of Lions fans who are still barking about, I shouldn't say barking, more like whining about last week's game, about the availability. Well, the Chiefs had players missing also. No Rashee Rice, no Josh Simmons, unexpectedly. I mean, no one's at full strength. And as the season goes on, unfortunately, odds are you're going to lose a player or two, especially if you make it all the way to January and if you're very fortunate to February. So hopefully the wide receiver trio sticks together, because as long as you have that, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to thrive. Patrick Mahomes has won AFC Offensive Player of the Week twice in the last 3 weeks. Oh, and by the way, we haven't even mentioned the best part this morning yet. Patrick Mahomes now has an offensive line. This is not something. The concern wasn't the wide receiver room. I think a lot of people expected the wide receiver room to be good. People felt like Juju, who's contributed very well this year so far, he'd be a good part of the depth, which he has been, especially since Worthy and Rice were unavailable for the start of the season. And people thought that, Sky Moore would have been a depth guy. People weren't quite sure about Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Royals, what he'd look like. Obviously, Sky Moore got traded. I will say this about Jalen Royals. I think Jalen Royals, I know he hasn't been targeted once yet by the Chiefs, but I think eventually he'll get going. So the thought was he was going to pick up the slack for some of the absences from Rashee Rice, but we never saw that, unfortunately. So here's the thing, because I've seen some people express their concern that because Rice is back, this means Thornton is not going to be used as much on offense. Okay, sure. I mean, statistically, he's not going to have a lot of balls thrown his way than he would have previously. But look, I guess this is why you have good depth. God forbid one of those three guys from the trio gets injured, well, you have a guy in Tyquan Thornton who can contribute. And I know Dave Tope teased that Thornton might be used a little bit more on special teams now, but and we know Andy Reid does not like for a return specialist, the number one return specialist, to also be involved actively with the offense. At least that's how it's been during his time here in Kansas City. So in the event that someone gets hurt, hopefully not, they can have Thornton contribute more on offense, and Nico Remigio can be the primary return specialist. I think the way Tobe made it sound is he wants to split duties between Remigio and Thornton. Maybe I'm looking into that too much, but that's just the way. That's just the takeaway I had. The way I view it, listen, I said this before the season. If you had to bet who was going to be 1,000-yard receiver, I don't know if you could have confidently placed a bet and said, yeah, this guy on the Chiefs is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver this year. Because a lot of people looked at Travis Kelce, okay, he's older. He's not the same guy he once was. He is playing on a good level right now, so he's got a chance for 1,000 yards. Obviously, no one was going to bet on Rice unless he just dominates every single game from here on out. But realistically, that's just maybe an uphill battle. Worthy doesn't look like he's going to get it. Hollywood and Juju has good, they've been good contributors, not necessarily standout number one wide receivers. So, and again, Thornton is a guy who's emerged this season. I don't know if you're going to have a 1,000-yard receiver, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. As long as the Chiefs have these speedsters available. I mean, I've said it many times. Patrick Mahomes, all the guys he has to work with, and I mentioned all those names a moment ago. I'm not going to keep repeating them over and over again, but it's a fun group of guys to talk about. The names alone just sound like a lot of fun. I think this receiving group, this pass catching group, is just one level below with what the Bengals have. Obviously, the Bengals dominated last year offensively with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Yoshi Voss. This year they added Noah Fant, which has certainly helped them. And you saw Joe Flacco have a really good game. He was only on the team 10 days as of this past Thursday on Thursday Night Football, and he had a pretty good game. Well, it helps when you have those kinds of players on offense. And I view this offense not exactly the same. I don't think Jamar Chase is unmatched, no question about it. But I think this Chiefs receiving room, and I'm including the tight ends in there as well as Brashard Smith, who's been used a lot in the passing game. I think this offense is one tiny step below what the Bengals have. And if this defense can be a little more consistent, this Chiefs team is going to be really good. And I alluded to this before, but Patrick Mahomes now has an offensive line. I still remember the very first game of the season. Not that it was perfect. Jawan Taylor still had his issues. Josh Simmons was working some things out. And I know Simmons is not with the team right now, but I remember a couple of times in that Brazil game, I'm like, wait a minute. Why is Patrick not throwing the ball at anyone? Someone's got to get open. And he still has the ball. I'm like, oh, he's got time in the pocket. So the bad news was he couldn't find an open receiver. The good news was he had time in the pocket. And we saw it again in week 2 against the Eagles. Still was far from perfect. But I'm like, wait a minute. It's been a couple games now. Patrick's playing with an offensive line he can trust. And you heard Travis Kelce talk about it on his podcast this week. And I'm paraphrasing here, but Kelce said that Mahomes is not having to think as much about the offensive line. I mean, think about that. When Trent Green was in Kansas City, when Willie Rofe, Will Shields, Brian Waters, Casey Wegman, Welborn, when that was your 5 offensive linemen, was Trent Green having to worry about edge rushers and having to run for his life? No, because he had those big boys protecting him, and he hardly had to deal with pressure in those games. Patrick Mahomes last year, I mean, the left tackle was just a carousel of guys. Jawan Taylor was not a good right tackle last year. The penalties and the lack of consistency. And now this year, Jawan Taylor certainly cleaned up a lot of those penalties, and he's playing much better as a pass blocker. You saw Aiden Hutchinson last week. Aiden Hutchinson is, without question, one of the best edge rushers in the NFL right now, and has been for a few years now. And listen, Aiden Hutchinson got to Mahomes a couple of times. One of them was on a one-on-one play against Noah Gray. That was certainly an interesting decision for the. Listen, I like Noah Gray, but if you're going to put him one-on-one against Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, you're just asking for bad things to happen there. But when you look at the Lions, and in terms of their pass rush last week, did Aiden Hutchinson do a whole lot? Okay, he had 5 pressures and a strip sack. Thankfully, Mahomes recovered. Maybe the discussion would be a little different if Mahomes did not recover and someone on the Detroit defense did. But, I mean, in general, was anybody during the game freaking out saying, oh, here's Aiden Hutchinson, he's dominating the offensive line, the Chiefs offensive line? No. And listen, props to Brett Veach. Not that you ever expected Josh Simmons to be out with a personal matter, but is this not why you got Jalen Moore? Well, I should say drafted Josh Simmons, because you drafted Jalen Moore. You signed Jalen Moore before you drafted Josh Simmons. The thought was Jalen Moore was going to be your left tackle. You did not expect Josh Simmons to drop. And listen, the Chiefs have some good depth at the wide receiver room, especially now that everyone's healthy there. It's not a bad idea to have depth at the offensive line position. So that move by Veach, and I know Veach got some criticism early on because he let go of Mike Pennell for Derek Nottie. That's not looking like a very good move right now. Letting Josh Uche walk certainly is not looking good either. But we got to give him credit where credit's due. And I don't know if anyone else not named Jalen Moore was going to be able to hold their own. I mean, who were you going to move out to left tackle? Wanye Morris? I think the Chiefs have gone through enough with that experiment. And listen, maybe Wanye is a better right tackle than a left tackle. I don't know. But thank goodness the Chiefs had Jalen Moore, because if not, it could have been a much different football game last week for the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is good to see this Chiefs offensive line where it is right now. I mean, look, I don't care unless you have guys who can't catch like Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. Listen, you don't have to have top tier talent like a Tyreek Hill or a Travis Kelce, like what Patrick Mahomes had to start off his career. But if you can have, second tier type of pass catchers like a Noah Gray or Hollywood Brown, those type of caliber pass catchers, I think Patrick Mahomes can be just fine. I think any elite quarterback can win with just about any receiving group as long as they have the pass protection. Because if you don't have the pass protection, I mean, how good are you going to be at the end of the day? And we've seen that, unfortunately, in 2 Super Bowls for the Chiefs. And the good thing about Brett Veach is when he saw what happened in those 2 Super Bowls, he addressed that issue. He knew the entire offensive line was an issue after Super Bowl 55. Well, what do? You clean up the entire offensive line. You have a brand new starting 5. You get back to the AFC title game. And right after that, you won back-to-back Super Bowls, almost a three-peat. And then unable to get that three-peat. What happened in the offseason? Well, the Chiefs go and get 2 new offensive tackles. Jalen Moore, who, let's be honest, is probably an underrated decision now by Brett Veach, and Josh Simmons, who a lot of people feel like might be the best offensive tackle in the draft. He fell because of mostly injury concerns, but a little bit of character concerns from last year as well. So this is pretty good. I mean, Kansas City's got an offensive line right now. They've got a wide receiver group that they are excited about right now. And man, I'm telling you right now, I would be concerned if I was the Raiders defense. Whether you're a player for them, Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator. I mean, how much time has Patrick Graham spent? I don't know if you guys can hear that. I mean, there are police sirens going on right now in the background. This Chiefs offense is hot. That's this Chiefs offense right now. So I'll turn on the sirens because I'll bring the air horns for this one, because Kansas City's offense is going to go back to what it was in 2022, maybe 2018. I said last year, going into the season, this could be very similar to 2018. Unfortunately, we never saw that because of all the injuries. Now, injuries are never an excuse, as we all know. It's always next man up. And the Chiefs, as bad by their standard, as bad as that offense was, that Chiefs team still found a way to win 15 games. So there's never an excuse to not win in the National Football League. I mean, look at the Bengals right now. They just beat a very good Steelers team with a quarterback they just added 10 days ago. 2 years ago, that same quarterback, Grandpa Flacco, came off the couch and was like the fourth or the fifth string quarterback for the Browns and led them to the playoffs. So you always have to find a way, regardless of what happens here. Can you guys hear that in the background? Out of curiosity. Morning from Panama. Shout outs to Panama. It's your birthday. Happy birthday, Alex. Hopefully the Chiefs can deliver a big win, because I think it's going to be total domination. I'm just being honest. Cape says, I don't like these early games. I feel like my Chiefs play sluggish. Yeah, the Chiefs have not played a lot of these games, but I think, they'll be fine at the end of the day. Yeah, we haven't had a lot of noon kickoff games in the Patrick Mahomes era, that's for sure. Like I said, I still remember, in 2008, wasn't every Chiefs game a noon kickoff game that was not on the West Coast? I feel like every home game was a noon kickoff game. If there's any way to check the historical schedules, see, it tells you who they play, but it doesn't show what time the game kicked off. Let me see if their Wikipedia will show it. Oh no, that's something else. Yeah, okay. So this is the 2008 season. This was Herm Edwards' last year. I think this is preseason. No, we don't care about the preseason. Okay, the Matt Castle game against the Patriots. That was a 12 o'clock game. At home against the Raiders, that was a noon game. Against the Falcons at Atlanta, that was a noon game. The Broncos at home, that was the one where Larry Johnson went off. That was maybe his last good game as a Chief. That was a noon game. Panthers, that was a noon game. Week 7 at home against the Titans. That's when Brody Crowell and Damian Heward both suffered season-ending injuries. That was a noon game. Noon against the Jets at the Jets. At home against the Bucks, another noon game. Okay, this is the first 3:15 game. Remember they used to have 3:15 games? This was in the West Coast. They were playing San Diego back when the Chargers were there. At home against the Saints. They lost that one, I think, in overtime, or that was a different game I'm thinking of. But that was also a noon kickoff game. Noon kickoff against the Bills. At the Raiders, obviously 3:15. At Denver, 3:05. At home against the Chargers, that was also 12. Every game at home that year was a noon kickoff game. See, I knew all of them. And then week 17 at the Bengals, that was Herm Edwards' last game he coached. So every home game that year was a noon game. What was the last? Think back to the last 8 noon games the Chiefs have had. How far back would you have to go? Probably before Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to do that now, but it's been a while. Okay, so I take it you guys did not hear those sirens. You can't hear them. Okay, that's good. Yeah, this microphone's pretty good. And I know with some settings on your computer, you can do it to where it'll only pick up just a short distance away. So if you talk far away, I don't know, it depends just whether or not something was spoken already before. It does a pretty good job of not picking up outside noise. So that's always good. All right. Well, you guys saw the bingo card. A lot of you guys are loving those bingo cards. I was inconsistent with it last year. Trying to be consistent with it this year, and you guys are loving it. So that's good. Keys to the game. By the way, let me know your score prediction for this one. I'm going 41-21 Kansas City. I think the Raiders are going to get some garbage time touchdowns in this one. Keys to the game. If you're Kansas City, you got to stop Ashton Genty, because it seems like it's not official yet, but it does seem more and more like Brock Bowers will not play. Jacoby Myers, he's kind of on the fence right now as to whether or not he'll play. But that Raiders team, which already has a bad offensive line, who are they going to have to rely on? Geno Smith is coming into the league, leading the league in interceptions with 10. Geno Smith has not lost any fumbles. I don't think he's fumbled once this year either. But even if you were to include fumbles, Geno Smith still leads the league in turnovers. So Geno Smith's had a really bad season. And you just have to consider that. Kansas City's done a really good job of taking care of the football. They haven't committed a lot of turnovers this year. They have 6 takeaways on the season. I was thinking about this the other day. And you guys help me out here because I looked this up and I saw the Chiefs had 6 takeaways. I knew about the 4 interceptions. For the life of me, though, I cannot recall the 2 fumble recoveries. My point is they have 6 takeaways this year. That's just below average here. I'd like to see the Chiefs, tally that up a little bit this game. I think they can go out there and get 3 or 4 takeaways, but they have 2 takeaways courtesy of fumbles. And I cannot recall which 2 fumbles they recovered. Do you guys remember that? Because I don't. The one where Patrick Mahomes, the one against the Giants, the tackle that turned the tide, as Nick Wright calls it, was that considered a fumble recovery? Because I didn't think the Giants player had possession. Unless I'm incorrect on that. That would be one. Do you guys remember the 2 fumble recoveries? Because I don't. I was looking this up last night. Oh, Trevor Lawrence fumbled. Okay, yeah, that's one. Perhaps those have got to be the 2. The Trevor Lawrence. Okay, I completely forgot about the Trevor Lawrence. See, we forgot a lot of the good stuff that happened in that game. But yeah, the Trevor Lawrence fumble. Drew's one against the Ravens. Was that a fumble or an interception? See, I want to look this up now. Let me just it's not coming up. Yeah, I think that was an interception. Well, I guess one way to know for sure is if you go to Drew Tranquil's stat line and see what it says. I'll do that real quickly. Oh, well, we can also check and see on the Chiefs stats what it shows. No, you guys are right. Yeah, that was a fumble recovery. Okay, for some reason I thought that was an interception, not a fumble. So yeah, George Karlaftis. I do remember. Yeah, George Karlaftis recovered the Trevor Lawrence fumble. Andrew Tranquil recovered the Lamar Jackson. Okay, so you guys are right. Yeah. For some reason I just could not recall the 2 fumble recoveries, but that Trevor Lawrence one I should have remembered. Yeah, Lamar ran into his own line. Okay, so I guess I just could not remember if the ball had hit the ground or not. I guess if it pops backwards, and maybe he was already past the line of scrimmage, so maybe that's why it was considered a fumble. So I just did not recall that specific moment there. But yeah, usually in a blowout like that Baltimore one, that one's even kind of hard to remember specifically what happened throughout the game. I mean, I could still tell you who scored a touchdown for the Chiefs: Juju Hollywood, Pacheco, and I'm drawing a blank on the 4th name on that one there. But and I'll look it up real quickly just to be sure. But yeah, Pacheco, Juju Hollywood. If I had to guess, Thornton was the other one. Yeah. That's who it was. But yeah, I'd like to see Kansas City maybe tack on a few takeaways in this one here. Because again, you're going up against the quarterback who leads the league in turnovers committed, all of them being interceptions. And the Chiefs have done a really good job of taking care of the football. One of those interceptions off Travis Kelce's hands. The only one interception you can really put on Patrick Mahomes was the pick 6 against the Jaguars. That one I do remember, unfortunately. What are my thoughts on the Pro Football Focus ratings? Okay, this is a really good question. So I heard Chris Collinsworth. He was on Kay Adams' YouTube show. And because one of the controversies from last week's game was how in the player introductions on Sunday Night Football, they have the PFF rankings and Patrick Mahomes was 14th. And the thought was, okay, if a very casual sports fan is watching that game and they're looking at the PFF rankings as the players are being introduced, I mean, do they really have to sit there and assume Mahomes is the 14th best quarterback in the NFL? And I heard Chris Collinsworth's justification for it, and he said something, Patrick had a pick six. And I'm like, okay, so one play drops him out of the top 10? Like that's my thing with, listen, I think PFF grades are a good reference. I certainly don't take their grades and just run with it because their grades are real. I remember Aaron Rodgers in 2015. Remember when the Chiefs finally got a touchdown pass to a wide receiver that game? That was Jeremy Maclin, that Monday Night Football game. Aaron Rodgers destroyed the Chiefs in that game. He threw 5 touchdowns. He threw an interception on a free play, which Patrick Mahomes has done many times as well in his career. That's the purpose of a free play. You take a shot, a risk you would not normally take. And I remember Aaron Rodgers, he had like a really bad PFF grade after beating the Chiefs, and people were like, what the hell? This guy just threw 5 touchdowns against Kansas City. And their justification was Rodgers threw an interception on a free play. And I guess there was another mistake Rodgers made in that game. It's like he threw 5 touchdowns. The interception was on literally a free play. How can you penalize someone with their grade if they're doing something on a free play? That won't count and will get called back. That just doesn't make sense. And I know PFF has done this over the years where they've been called out and they've had to justify all of their grades and why they grade the way they do, and it still does not make sense. Listen, I know the Kelsey brothers a couple of years ago mentioned that there are agents who maybe pay Pro Football Focus. And by the way, here's something I don't like about PFF, because I posted the grades for the offensive linemen after week 1. And then I got a bunch of tweets saying that these are incorrect. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I saw the right grades here. Thankfully, somebody from PFF came to my defense and said, oh, no, we regraded them. Why are you regrading things? That doesn't make sense. Whatever you see it, you evaluate it, and you give the grade. You don't need to be regrading things. Are you regrading things based on criticism you've received? Because that doesn't make any sense why you would need to go back and regrade things. That makes no sense. I've never really understood that or believed in any of that. It's I don't know. It's never made sense to me. Mitchell 55187. Are you mad that Mitchell 55186 was taken? He's a Lions fan complaining. Dude, it's Sunday, man. You Lions fans really need to learn to let it go. Like the game's over with. Come on, man. I got a tweet the other day. A Lions fan said, "Oh, Jared Goff's wife is better at looking and natural." Dude, when you're having to comment, when you're having to compare Patrick Mahomes' wife to Jared Goff's wife, that's how you know you're not over the game when you're a Lions fan. I mean, you are really down in the dumps if you're having to compare the wives of the 2 quarterbacks because your team lost. Like, get the fuck over it, man. It's Sunday, the following Sunday. The earth has gone through 7 daily rotations almost since that game. Like, Jesus Christ. Zeke on Facebook. Okay. He's not a bitter Lions fan. That's good to see. Was that the Raider Christmas game? Need vengeance today? I think the Raiders have had vengeance already a couple times. Tower Con. What's up, Tower Con? Texans fans crying last year? I remember I made a really harmless joke saying the last time the Texans visited Kansas City for a playoff game, they blew a 24-0 lead. Dude, Texan fans got all worked up for that one. Social media people, no need to get all sensitive. I just think it's funny. Like, come on, the guy punched Juju after the game and was crying about being bullied. Like, plus the NFL Films thing. Okay, look. Was that a professional thing for NFL Films to do? No, but in 2025, what does professionalism even mean? Listen, I've had people tell me I'm professional, which I appreciate the compliment, but what does that mean in 2025? Because you can turn on sports talk radio and you're not really getting a lot of professionalism from some radio hosts. Not everyone, but some. I don't know. What's with the Broncos Giants beef? Dude, I have no idea what that's about. Apparently, Giants fans, which I'm pulling for the Giants in this game, obviously, but Giants fans apparently have been making some comments about Demaryius Thomas. I don't know why you would need to go that far. So that really did come out of nowhere. And I guess, World War IV basically started with World War III and World War IV all together between the Broncos and Giants fans. So that'll be a fun game to watch, I guess. Big workload for Rice immediately. I think so, David, on Instagram. Yeah, I think he will. They're not looking to slow him down. The talk all week has been, I know Andy Reid was asked kind of a funny question about it, and referring to Jeremy Fowler's comments. But Jeremy Fowler did say, he reported earlier in the week that Rice is not going to be on any kind of limit snap-wise, which I thought maybe the first quarter of it, you might see that, but maybe not. I don't expect a big limitation on Rice. I think he's going to go off. And he'll listen. That dude was the king of catching passes on slant routes. Those short passes there. I mean, he connected with Mahomes and he would go get some yak. And you saw that from the very first game last year. So again, that's why I'm hoping that this receiving trio stays healthy, because you do that, you involve Kelsey more. You can involve Tyquan Thornton as well. Still Juju as well. This is going to be a really, really, really fun offense to watch. All you have to do is limit. If the Chiefs can limit Max Crosby and help Jalen Moore out a little bit. He had a great game last week. Don't rely on that 100% this time. But I think if you put Noah Gray, not one-on-one, but someone to go maybe help Jalen Moore for double team, or even double team briefly for like a chip block, just do that. And I think you'll do some really good things offensively if you can find a way to limit Max Crosby, because they don't have Christian Wilkins anymore. That experiment already failed in a year. I mean, what does this Raiders team have? They have a banged up Brock Bowers, who might not play, a banged up Jacoby Myers, who may play. You have Ashton Genty, who's running behind a shitty offensive line. I mean, this is a Raiders team that really is just hoping and praying that Max Crosby has the game of his life. That's all. That's all you really have to hope for if you're the Raiders. Out of all the 22 guys, and edge rushers can do a lot of great things, elite edge rushers. But because of how terrible the Raiders are, your biggest hope is that Max Crosby will carry the team to a win. That's not happening. Happened on Christmas because Mahomes had no reliable players on offense to work with, no reliable offensive tackles. Can't say that now. So that's all. Listen, at the end of the day, if you the keys to the game for the Chiefs, show up. For the Raiders, pray. That is literally your keys to the game. And I will end it there. Hey, I'm Farzi Vasugan. Appreciate all the guys who joined me tonight. Not tonight. What am I talking about? This morning, rather, for the pregame live chat. Come back at halftime. We will recap the first half between the Chiefs and the Raiders. That'll be approximately 1:10, 1:15-ish. And then after the game, we will recap the game between the Chiefs and the Raiders. Hopefully the Chiefs are above 500. And by the way, be on the lookout for a specific post I'm going to have. When Patrick Mahomes has his second touchdown pass, regardless to who it is, it's not a Rashee Rice thing, but when Patrick Mahomes has second touchdown pass, something special is going to happen. Just look out for that. And it has to happen this game. And I don't want to spoil anything because it is kind of a really cool stat that has to happen in this game and no other game. So just wanted to let you know then. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have fun with your morning. Get ready for the game and come back at halftime and see me. I'll talk to you all then. Peace out.